Hey, wanted to do a video just to help you if you are suffering with some sort of anal fissure or a chronic fissure. This is I really want to do a video on this because mine is nearly cleared up. It's about 80 to maybe 90% healed now. That was a very, very different situation about 2 weeks ago. I have been suffering for about 4 months now. So what happened? I'll give you a quick rundown of how it happened. Mine was not the typical situation where people just pass hard stools or just have a really bad diet and then next thing you know they're bleeding and all the rest of it. Mine was not like that at all. Mine was more of a pure bad luck. I inherited a thing from my old man called gout. Gout is like a type of arthritis. It's too much uric acid basically build up in the body. Everyone has that, but they can flush it out with their kidneys can flush it out naturally. And it causes major pain in your joint, usually in the big toe. That's where I was getting mine. So my oldest brother came to stay with me from Sydney, and he saw me limping around. He said, "Oh, you've got to go take this med to actually fix that, because of you can damage your joints." I don't like meds, full stop. So I wasn't keen on taking meds at all. So, but when he said, "Oh, your joint in your toe can get damaged because of that," I was like, "All right," and he kind of convinced me, because he's more of that type of person to take medication as opposed to do it naturally. I'm 100% naturally. I'm a big believer of that. So I went and got some meds. Within 4 hours, the pain was sort of cut in half. And I was like, wow, this is like, well, how come I haven't done this sooner? Because I'd sort of suffered from gout on and off. I've probably had half a dozen gout attacks over the last maybe 10 years, which thank goodness isn't a lot. Some people have it, quite regularly, but that's if their diet is really bad. That's what all comes down to, is how your system is. If you're not in good shape and you haven't got a good diet, then you'll get a gout attack. But I'm getting a little bit off track, but I wanted to give you a bit of an insight into how I got this fissure. And so anyway, I took the medication. It started clearing up the gout. About a week later, I had another gout attack, but it was more it was coming on in the middle of the night, and I could feel it in my toe. And I was like, all right, I've got to get up and take this med. So I went to the kitchen, took the medication. Here it is here. I'll give you a bit of an insight. There it is. That is really bad stuff. I'm going to give you an insight into why that is bad in a minute. Arthrexin. Terrible stuff. All medication generally is bad. I mean, this is like a cap. Give you a quick, oh no, this one's not open. There was another one open, but they're like capsules. Took that about 3 a.m. in the morning, had my coffee. I went to the toilet and blood came out, and I was like, what the heck is that? And I just freaked out. I was like, what the heck, I'm bleeding, and that just freaked me out bad. Any of you guys who are suffering with anal fissure, have had blood in coming out, you know the feeling of that first feeling when you see that. It was dripping, and I was like, this is really bad. From that day on, I went on a juice fast. So I started fasting just juice, and I did a 3-day juice fast. Just vegetable juice predominantly, just a whole bunch of different veggies. I've got a cold press juicer, which I've had, and I started using that and just getting into the juicing. The bleeding stopped in 5 days. I think I went to the doctor's. It sort of happened on a Thursday morning, early hours of the morning. So I didn't go to the doctor's until the following week, until sort of Monday, Tuesday the following week. He did an examination on me. He said, yep, there's a little cut just on the inside of the anus there, basically, which is typical of a fissure. I was relieved, because I was like, oh, okay, thank goodness it's not like internal. I sort of yeah, I was instantly relieved, because I was like, great, he's examined me. My wife checked, which was pretty, you know, embarrassing in a way. But hey, it's your partner. That's what happens, you know. And yeah, she sort of said the same thing. Yeah, there's like a little thing there. So anyway, that went on. I was fasting from then on. So February this happened. Is exactly 4 months after today. They're making this video. Just about. It's early Feb it happened. Then it cleared up within a month. It sort of, you know, there was never discomfort when I went to the toilet or anything, but it pretty much went away. And then I started cycling, got into cycling, and then this discomfort started coming, and I was thinking, oh no, it's coming back. And it came back, and it came back with a vengeance, and there was no blood, but it was just pure discomfort to sit, and just after sitting for a long period of time, just this discomfort just would build up and build up and build up. And I was like, wow, this thing's come back bad, you know. And yeah, I got my wife to check, and she said, yeah, it looks like a little ulcer. And I was like, oh man, this is bad. And I started researching and reading online, and people were like saying all this stuff about chronic and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, man, I don't want this thing for life. This is like really bad. And I had a friend of mine recently who just had surgery done. Hers was so bad, she had to get surgery, and she's had it for years. And I was like, man, I do not want this thing for years. And if you're one of those people, this can be fixed, and I'm going to give you an insight into how to do that. Mine is cleared up about 80 to 90% now, and I'll give you the rundown of what exactly I did. First thing, my faith in God. I prayed to God, and I was like, God, you gotta help me. Now, if you aren't a believer, I don't want you to switch this video off, because I'll give you insight into what I did anyway. But firstly, yeah, I was praying, man, and I was like, there's a scripture in the Bible that says there's a persistent widow, and she talks about wanting justice for her adversaries, I think they call it. So basically wanting justice, and she keeps going to this judge, and she's like, I want justice done. You know, I don't think it goes in too much into the story, into what happened to her, but she's a widow and she wants justice. And this judge was like, eventually she keeps coming, and eventually, and he just goes, all right, I'll give it to you. You just wearing me down. You know, it's kind of like a kid if you're a parent, you'll know your child just nags and nags and nags. Eventually, you just go, all right, whatever. I'll just, you know, give in to him. That's how God was telling me to pray. And I said, all right, I'm gonna bug you, God. I'm gonna bug you like the persistent widow. So that's exactly what I did. And he started opening up things to me and showing me things on how to heal the body. And it's actually been a bit of a blessing in disguise, because without this happening, I wouldn't have changed my ways. I wouldn't have changed my diet and my lifestyle, and just the way I look at food and everything I consume and do to my body has completely changed. And I'll give you some insight into that a bit later on. But I did that. He showed me some crazy stuff. So I went to my doctor. He said, you know, in his classic, he's a real slick Egyptian dude. He's a classic doctor. He goes, two things: you can either rectogesic or surgery. And I was like, no, they are both bad options. You know, I mean, you got to understand how doctors work. They're like drug dealers. They're like, here you go, here's a script, go take that. All the best. See you later. Next, bang. So he didn't actually get me onto this. I got myself onto this before I saw him. Rectogesic, there it is there. Rubbish, absolute rubbish. $30 for this thing, which you're kind of thinking, okay, for an ointment, yeah, it's a little bit exy, but you're thinking that might work. Doesn't do a thing. Don't worry about that one. There's another one called Proctosettle, which basically all that is like a numbing agent. When it came back, the fissure, this ulcer, basically turns into an ulcer. When it came back, I was using this Proctosettle stuff, and it kind of gives you instant relief, but it doesn't fix the problem. And that's the issue. You always want to be looking at, okay, how do I fix this? Not how do I, you know, what's the word, where you're basically just trying to blanket over it. It's like, okay, yeah, okay, we'll just try and make this discomfort as nice of a ride as possible, but at the end of the ride, it's just going to come back again, and you'll just have pain. So you're going to have to take this for however long, you know, if it's for the rest of your life. That's how they work, and it's like, man, I'm not doing that. It's not going to happen. So I started looking at ways of how I can fix this naturally, and that's what I went on a research rampage, put it that way. I just researched and read so many articles, and let me tell you, it sounds really like a conspiracy theory, but you won't find too much natural remedies on the internet, because from my understanding is that if the pharmaceutical companies get whiff of someone's actually doing something that's working, they will have that pulled off the internet. Why? Because they want to sell you drugs. And it sounds really like, you know, conspiracy theory, man, and all the rest of it, but it's just the way they work, unfortunately. So I researched and just kept researching. Now, in the meantime, I was fasting. So I've been fasting ever since, and now intermittent fasting is a big part of my life. I do it every day. Weekend now, Sunday, I had a coffee this morning, which usually, and what I mean by coffee, I'm talking about a latte, I'm talking about milk and sugar, which I don't usually do. I usually just have a black coffee, but the fasting intermittently. So the fasting has been a big part of my life now, and I do it every day. I do intermittent fasting, so I usually fast from anywhere from 16 to 20 hours of no eating per day, because I was like, okay, this is one of those things where I need to tick all the boxes in order to try and fix this naturally. So the fasting, I started doing that straight away. As you know, I said earlier, I started with the juice fast, then I just started doing intermittent fasting, watching what I was eating as well, so I wasn't eating bad food. I never really have, but I've dropped now, since in the 4 months, I've dropped 12 to 14 kilos already. So that's already a big thing. I wasn't doing it to lose weight, by the way. I was doing it to try and heal my body. So the fasting, the supplements, I started looking at supplements. Turmeric kept propping up, so I went and got myself some turmeric capsules. I was taking it powdered form. I was taking powdered turmeric, but it just got really, really disgusting to drink, and I was drinking that with black pepper, warm water. Man, that's tough. I'm telling you right now, it's real tough. If you can do it, awesome, do it. But I just found the not capsules, just tablets. Tablets, here we go. So these tablets I started taking, you know, 1 or 2 of those. It says 1 a day, so I started taking those, 1 to 2. I was doubling up on stuff. I started taking vitamin C, magnesium, which is good for bone and muscle health, because the sphincter muscle is a muscle, obviously. This stuff was awesome. Covetol, it's a nappy rash treatment. It is zinc oxide 35% and cod liver oil 22%. That stuff was good to just put on topically. That soothes big time. Aloe vera, pure aloe vera gel. You have to keep the area clean. Really, really important. So use fragrance-free baby wipes. I'm just showing you all this stuff because this is what I did. Cod liver oil, amazing stuff. You have to have cod liver oil in your diet. That as well. And I was taking a fish oil as well. So I was taking all those supplements and apple cider vinegar as well. So there's a lot of stuff there, but you have to do this, guys. I mean, unless you want to keep this thing and it become worse. This was all good, but it wasn't the real changing. It wasn't the thing that changed my healing process. That was all great stuff, and that really aided in helping. But I started researching, and I researched and I found a great article of a lady who was bleeding. She had a fissure and she was bleeding like half a cup of blood, or like some ridiculous amount of blood every day. And she would go to the doctor, and the doctors would be like, "Okay, it's nothing serious. We just have to monitor it." And she was like, "That's not good enough. Like, I'm bleeding. I don't want to just bleed every day. This is ridiculous." The doctors would just didn't know what to do. So she starts researching, and she finds that cabbage juice heals ulcers and is great for healing. So she's trying anything. Like, if you're like me and you've done all this stuff, you're just trying to grab whatever you can and just, all right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. So she did that. She started drinking about 1 litre or so of cabbage juice a day. And within, I can't remember exactly because I don't have the article, within a week or two, the bleeding had completely stopped. And it just started to heal up. And she went to the doctors and she told the doctors, "I've been juicing cabbage and it's healing me." And the doctors were like, no, it's not that. It can't be that. They just thought, no, it just, because they've got the mindset of like, if it's not medication, then, it can't be that. And she's like, that is exactly what it is. So I read that and I'm like, let's research. I'm going to research cabbage and research the power of cabbage juice. And sure enough, cabbage is known to heal ulcers in the stomach, especially. Now, if you've got a chronic fissure, generally it turns into an ulcer. And I was like, all right, ulcers. I started researching ulcers and the healing of ulcers, and then cabbage and cabbage juice was just so powerful. And I thought, wow, I'm going to start doing that. So I started doing that, and I also started, because I was researching ulcers, I found that there was people online who were healing themselves of I think it's called ulcerative colitis. I think it's called. I don't know the actual name, but you get the gist. If you Google it or YouTube it, you'll find it. Kefir or kefir or kefir, which is a fermented milk. It's like you get these grains, and it heals the intestinal tract. It's just a major powerful probiotic, if not the most powerful probiotic. These people were being healed by this kefir drink that they were making, and I was like, well, what is this? I need to look into this as well. Like, this is amazing, Sure enough, I look online. I jump online, and I jump on Facebook, and I type in kefir, and next thing you know, there's people selling these grains, and I'm like, wow, for $5 or whatever it was I paid, I can make this stuff at home. So I started making the kefir as well. So that and the cabbage juice, and next thing you know, I started to see improvement in this fissure. Now you got to remember, I've been fasting hard for 3 months, and I thought the fasting would clear it up. The fasting was great, but it wasn't the thing that really changed. The thing that really changed was the cabbage juicing and the kefir. I started putting these vitamins and nutrients in my body, and that were healing this ulcer. And also the kefir was adding these my gut flora was starting to be healed. And you got to remember, I think people say between 70 to 90% of the immune system is in the gut. And I thought, man, I don't know why I didn't take notice of this, because my mother used to say to me, it's all about the gut. And I was like, yeah, whatever, it's all about just eating well and exercising and you'll be fine. Now that to an extent is true, but if your gut is out of balance, like the bacteria, if the bad bacteria is winning the fight, then you could be putting good food in and you're just not going to absorb it properly. So I started looking at ways of fixing the gut, and I remember reading a line, and it said you need to heal from the inside out, and I thought, wow, it's a great line. So I started doing that, the cabbage juice and the kefir, and then things have changed. Like, I've healed it now. I reckon I'm probably 80 to 90% healed. And the funny thing is, in 2 weeks I made it an actual, I finally bit the bullet after nearly 4 months of going to see a specialist and see what they can do. And they talk about Botox, and then the worst case scenario is the surgery, which my friend just had recently at the hospital, because the Botox didn't work for hers. But mind you, she said she had a massive fissure and it was just out of control. Mine obviously isn't that bad, but still, I can't, I hadn't been able to sit for long periods, and it was just so uncomfortable. And I was just, by the end of the day, I was just running a hot bath. And you guys know about this because you are watching this video because of your own issues. So the takeaway from this video: cabbage juice. You have to start juicing cabbage. Now what I do is I juice it in bigger batches now, because otherwise I was juicing it like 3-4 times a day, and it was just like, man, it was just doing my head in. So what I started to do is just get like 1 to 2 whole cabbages, juice them. Like, you got to cut it up, get yourself a cold press juicer as well. Now it doesn't have to be cold press, but cold press are always best because it keeps all the enzyme and all that sort of stuff. You don't lose all that because of heat, the friction of the blade and heat and all that sort of stuff. Cold press juice the cabbage, and then put lemon. This is what makes it palatable. Put a whole lemon in with per whole cabbage, and then you can store that. Just put it into a 1 liter or 2 bottle. I've just got these old milk bottles that I use that I've cleaned out and washed and all the rest of it. Put the juice in that and just keep it in the fridge, and then I just drink probably maybe I'd say at least half a liter of that a day. I take a little jar with me to work, and I actually I dilute it with a bit of pure water as well. I started diluting it a bit more because it's fine. You're still going to get good stuff, and you're still getting. The main thing is just getting it into you. You've got to do it throughout the day. I found that just doing it in the morning, doing it at midday, doing it at night, doing it at least 3 times a day. And I have this little cup, and it's like a 200 ml cup. So I'm at least getting 600 mils of this cabbage juice with lemon into my body. And that, I noticed when I started having the cabbage juice, it almost takes the pain, not pain, but the discomfort, because I was never really in pain, but because of the nerve endings around that part of the body, it's, I had nerve endings or just weird shooting sensation down my left leg. Bizarre, because the body's all connected, so it's bad because you got a lot of nerve endings there. So that's why the pain can happen. And some of you guys might be suffering from pain, and you don't want to go to the toilet because you got this pain. But I found the discomfort would cut in half just after I've had a cabbage juice. It's amazing stuff. And you really got to persist too, guys. You got to just persist at this, because this can really, it's made a massive difference. I'm not 100% out of the woods yet, and I will make a follow-up video to this one to let you know how I'm getting on. But all of those supplements, get your hands on those. Magnesium obviously is really good. Vitamin C, turmeric, cod liver oil. You've got to get yourself the pure aloe vera, any sort of nappy rash cream, but you really want cod liver oil, because that is amazing for healing, wound healing. Because it's a wound and it needs to be healed, and you want the good bacteria in your body to be able to go to work in killing off the bad bacteria. There's one bacteria in particular which is damaging for this type of wound, which is I call it the helicopter bacteria, but it's helibac or whatever. I don't know. It's something along those lines. If you Google it, you'll know what I mean. But that particular bacteria is really bad. And it's bad for ulcers and bad for this kind of wound. And when you start putting good probiotics in your body, that will kill that. So the kefir, the juice, and another thing which I forgot to mention, which is what I started doing, was sauerkraut. I started making sauerkraut. So now I'm making big batches of sauerkraut. Amazing probiotic. Once again, once you take this route and you start doing research, you start finding it. So hopefully in this video, you're going to go away and you're going to go, all right, I need to start making sauerkraut. Really easy to do. It is just so easy. You need to just jump online, do your research, jump online, look at YouTube videos how to make sauerkraut, start making it. It's just literally salt and cabbage, and if you want to add extra goodies you can as well. Salt and cabbage. Make it, get into the sauerkraut because it's a super food and it is a probiotic. It's going to add extra different bacteria that you're not going to get from kefir. Get kefir grains wherever you are in the world. You can pretty much get it anywhere nowadays. People are making this stuff now. They're onto it. They're onto the bandwagon of kefir, mate. I found it on Facebook Marketplace and I drove 5-10 minutes from my house to get the grains. And they give it to you in a little milk thing and you go take it home and you it's literally just putting these grains in a milk jar, putting your full cream milk, putting a lid over the top. Not a lid, I just put a coffee filter with elastic band on top of this jar. Within 24 hours I got kefir, and I put that into a blender with some berries. I put coconut oil. That's another really good thing you need in your diet, coconut oil. And there you go, and a bit of honey, and man, you got yourself a nice kefir drink, which is amazing for healing your body too. So do that. All those things, man, but most importantly, get on the cabbage juice, get on the kefir, and get those other supplements into your diet, and you'll start noticing a big difference. You have to stick with the cabbage juice. You cannot, as I said, get the lemon, put the lemon in. It'll cut that nastiness taste. There's like a nastiness if you just drink it straight, and I have drank it plenty of times straight. But the lemon, it just makes it palatable. And I found that now I'm bottling it. So I got a bit of a cold, so I sound really nasally. Now that I'm bottling it, I just found that it actually mellows out over a day or two. Whether or not I lose a little bit of goodness, probably, but I just found it's like from a convenience point, because you won't stick at things if it's not convenient. You have to remember that. Like, if things become hard, they become... If things are less convenient, they become hard, and then you just drop off. You just stop doing it. And this is a prime example. That's my kefir with the berries in it, and I'm drinking that. And I've got two quarters of cabbage, chopping them up on the chopping board, chopping them up, putting them into a bowl, and then I'm going to put them in my cold press juicer and juice them up. Once I've done that, I'll put them into like a plastic bottle, which I'll put in the fridge, and this is a 1.5 litres, but it won't even fill that. It might go halfway if I'm lucky, and that will keep me, and then I'll just dilute that with a bit of water when I add it to my drinks. But that's my sort of regime at the moment, which seems to be working. These two powerhouses, and obviously having sauerkraut in my diet. See, I'm making like batches of this stuff. This is jars, but now I've gotten to the point where I'll just show you up on my bookshelf here. I'm making like big batches of it. That's like a whole, that's 1.2, 1.3 kilos worth of sauerkraut there, which I'm making. You know, there's a jar, there's like a decent jar, like quite big, you know, that I'm already getting into. With the lemon. You know, this jug needs to be poured into the bottle. I just take the scum off the top all the fun. Oh, easy. One-handed mastery. Okay, so you take all that off. That's just, yeah, wrong town. Take that off. Sorry about the dishes in the sink. I haven't stacked the dishwasher. Or should I say, my boys haven't stacked the dishwasher. That's their job. So take all this off. Get all that nasty foam. Because that's just like scum, really. There's something dark in there. I don't know what that is. No. Anyway, sometimes I have a little piece of cabbage drop in, which isn't very pleasant to drink. To get all that off, exactly what I do, and I pour that in. Now, this will last me, as I've started to dilute it a little bit. I don't dilute it in the bottle, I just dilute it when I pour it into it. See, I've still got plenty of, like, there's more cabbage there, there's still more cabbage there, it's still a little bit in the juicer. You know, I'm going to make, probably this might come up to here, but we'll keep going, and I'll show you when I get it in there, I'd say, which is better than what I thought, out of 2/4 of cabbage with the lemon juice. So I'll keep that in my fridge for a couple of days and drink it. So that is what I do for, well, what I've been doing, and which has been healing my chronic fissure. Now, they call it chronic because it's ongoing, and I watched a video the other day of a guy who had the operation, and it's really bad. You got to be careful what you watch and what you accept as truth, because he said, oh, as you know, if you've had it for longer than 2 months, it's not going away. That is absolute rubbish. Do not buy that stuff from people. Even if it's their experience, it doesn't have to be your experience, because you can heal this naturally by doing the right thing. So don't buy into it, because you know, it's almost like surrounding yourself with negative people, and then they tell you this certain thing, and then you just accept it, and that's truth. No, that is absolute bollocks. You don't have to accept that. And I usually, when I hear people like that in a video, I just switch it off. I just say, nah, I'm not accepting that as truth, because that is not the case, and you don't have to have that as your truth. I'll do a follow-up video. I really appreciate you watching. If you did get something out of this, just hit a like, or subscribe as well. I will do a follow-up video and let you know how I'm getting on. But like I said, I'm sort of 80 to 90% healed. And I think in the last 2 weeks is when I started doing the cabbage and the kefir. That has made the big difference. I thought fasting would be the major healer. It probably has played a massive role in healing as well, so I do recommend to start fasting as well. Definitely something you should be doing, I think, anyway, just to let your body heal itself, because you're either with fasting, you're either in 2 states. You're either in a feeding state where your body's trying to break down and digest food, or you're in a healing state. And when you've got an ailment, any sort of issue in your body, you want to be healing in a healing state as much as possible. And then when you are in a feeding state, you want to be feeding your body the best nutrients possible to heal yourself. So hopefully you found some really good tips and tricks and what have you in this video. And let me know if you start doing this and it starts working for you. Put a comment, just drop a comment in there and just say, yep, this is what I found. I read, I think about a week or two, that they did a test from these inmates in, I think it was some hectic prison like San Quentin or something in the States, and these guys had ulcers in their stomach, and they started giving them cabbage. I don't know whether it was some sort of cabbage powder or cabbage juice. I don't know what it was, but they started to heal up. That's how powerful cabbage is. So it's in the brassica family, which I grow. At the moment, I've got veggies growing, and I'm growing a whole bunch of broccoli. I've got probably 50 plus broccoli plants at least on the go outside in my organic garden. But that's another video. I will follow up with this video to let you know how I'm going. As I said, I've got an appointment in 2 weeks' time with a specialist. Hopefully, I'm completely like, you know, another week or so, I am like, yeah, I'm nearly 100%, and then I can just go, sorry guys, don't need you. And that's where I feel like my body is heading at the moment. So I appreciate you watching. As I hit a like if you found it useful, subscribe, all that good stuff, guys, and I'll see you next time.